fans of free-for-all brawls and big mouths getting punched in the face. Welcome back to Naughty Boy Fight Picks. This is my UFC 229 recap. Feels like I've been gone for ages. I think I did my picks and predictions video for 229. Shit, maybe 2-ish weeks ago, 2 and a bit. So yeah, it has been a while. Good to be back. Lots to discuss, obviously. I will begin today by just going over how I did with betting this week, which was good. Go through the card, and then obviously the post-main event incident last. I was thinking about talking about that first, but there's so much to talk about in the fights, and this has really shifted the focus off that, which bums me out a little bit because I feel like it's been a little overblown. I don't think it was as bad as what has been made out to be, really. Like, it was bad, but, you know, ain't the fucking end of the world, and this is a sport full of lunatics. So, you know, put lunatics in the pressure cooker of fucking anxiety and tension, and yeah, these things happen. But so saying that, I had a good weekend. I had a bunch of friends in from out of town to come watch the fights, which was nice. Therefore, some of my concentration may not have been there, but the fights I was really interested in, I paid close attention, kind of ignored everyone around me. But yeah, good weekend, good friends. Had some Bloody Marys too, so that could impair my memory. As I always state, my memory is fucking shocking. My brain is made of, I don't know, laxatives and dog hair. So I went 2 out of 4 on my straight picks and profited 12%. Not 2 out of 4, 1 out of 3 really, but I put 2 wagers on Tony Martin, thank fuck. We'll talk about that fight shortly. Had a few parlays come off. I had Andrade from her fight ages ago, who parlayed with Reyes. I missed my Konieczko Ferguson Volkov parlay by about 11 seconds. I got my Zaleski, Livia Souza and Ferguson parlay coming. Then my Masasi, Tony Martin and Ferguson, which was a nice one, paying $5.40. My Pettis, Sergio Pettis that is, Habib, McGregor doesn't go to decision, and O'Malley parlay didn't pay. But my Ferguson, Habib, Conor doesn't go to decision, and Luque inside the distance did pay. So pretty happy with that. And then I got some legged from this event, so I got Luque to win, and McGregor, Habib doesn't go to decision, and if Ozdemir comes in the next event, that's gonna cash. So I got 4 units on that too, so feeling pretty confident. That's a good start for the next event. Oh, and I just placed a little parlay on the next event as well, but I'll go into that when I do the picks and predictions video. Overall, I went up, what did I go up? 10.6 units. So pretty happy with that. 42% ROI on the event. So yeah, good to be back. Like, I had that little win on the last Bellator event, but that weren't shit. So this one really felt like I was back. But I guess I can say I'm back on a 2-event streak, which feels fucking good after my little slump. And back up to, I think, 53 on the BetMMA.tips leaderboard. So that feels great. So probably quite boring shit for you guys, and it's all there if you did want to check it out. You can see how I went. I had a few people hitting me up saying they tailed me on Tony Martin, which is great. I'm glad you tailed me on my pick that came in. Let's get straight into the event here. First fight, obviously, Tony Martin defeating Ryan LaFleur by a 3rd round TKO. Pretty dominant win for Martin, really. Like, LaFleur didn't get fuck all off, and I think a lot of people were concerned about that there might be a strength disadvantage because of the size, but they didn't. Martin didn't look too much smaller than LaFleur to me, and when they clinched up, he used good technique, underhooked and spun him round and held his own in those positions. So, and yeah, Martin's striking just looks better and better, and I guess that's what I was kind of banking on. I think I said in my picks and predictions video, I wouldn't be surprised if Martin drops LaFleur, and sure enough, he did. Looked fucking great. And I think I cashed 7 units on that fight, so began the event that way and felt really fucking good. Next fight of the evening, Nick Lentz defeating Gray Maynard. Quite an entertaining fight in the end. I think wasn't very gassed about it, being two old guys who potentially on their way out. Maynard, you'd have to think, is, and Lentz can't be too far off, but fuck, was impressed with so a lot of people saying, you know, Maynard's chinny and he's taking too much damage, but fuck, he hung in there and took some punishment. And then in the second round came out and looked like he was turning the fight around. I was like, holy fuck, he might win. I had considered playing Maynard, but I'm glad I stayed away from it, obviously, because he got pretty viciously dropped again, and then the ref jumped in quickly, decided that was enough. Next fight up, Yana Kunitskaya defeating Lena Landsberg via unanimous decision. Yeah, Yana looked too strong, outmuscled her. I think I heard a lot of people saying Yana would need to avoid the clinch, and it turns out she was fine in the clinch. Seemed to have a pretty significant strength advantage. Good win for her, but I don't know, man, 135 is a wasteland, eh? So she could get up near the top of the division, but man, there's miles between a woman like Nunes and her, as I think the commentators were saying during the fight. Next fight up, Scott Holtzman defeating Alan Patrick. This one I picked wrong. I didn't wager on it, but I thought Alan Patrick was going to be too strong and physical for Holtzman, but man, Holtzman looked good and looked like his game is developing. And he got that vicious fucking third round KO with the nasty elbow, so good for Scott Holtzman. Next fight up, Aspen Ladd defeating Tonya Evinger, first round TKO. So in my picks and predictions, I picked Aspen Ladd, and then following the weigh-ins and seeing the state she was in there, I put a small play on Evinger because she was paid pretty decent money. I just put 3 units on Evinger, and she came out looking real good, like landing some good shots on Ladd to begin with. I guess I was banking on just Evinger's toughness. I was like, even if Ladd gets her in a tough spot early on, she should be able to survive it because she's proved she's very tough and durable. And then I imagine, due to the weight cut, Ladd will tire from the second round onwards or somewhere at some point, you know, and Evinger would be able to run away with it, but Ladd got her to the ground, and fuck, her top pressure's great, and then obviously her vicious ground and pound, didn't look like she was landing anything too horrific, but she just had Evinger in a terrible position and she couldn't really defend herself, so the ref stepped in and stopped it. Great win for Ladd. Yeah, wonder, she'd be pretty small for 45, wouldn't she? But we'll see what happens there. Next fight up, Vicente Luque defeating Jalen Turner via first round KO. As much as people expected, yeah, pretty stink for Jalen Turner, I think, to be matched up like this with a killer like Luque. But I guess kind of nice to, and like, yeah, it does fuck all for Luque as well, but kind of nice to see him showcase his skills. Fuck, he's so compact and tight, and just just a real nice tidy fighter, and he doesn't waste a lot of movement, and yeah, he just throws his shots really nice and technical and crisp, and fuck, there's power there, man, as you saw. So, yeah, not a surprise, but yeah, Luke carries on fucking finishing dudes. Next fight up, I had another play on Jussier Formiga defeating Sergio Pettis via unanimous decision. And fuck. So one judge had this 30-26, another two had it 29-28. I'm having a bit of trouble recalling the fight, but what I do recall, Jussier just nullified Sergio's game, and Sergio didn't really get anything off. Real disappointing. I think, yeah, and a bit of a lesson here for me. I was kind of banking on the improvements it seemed like Sergio had made in his last fight against Benavidez. Kind of neglecting the fact that he did get taken down in that last round by Benavidez and whatnot. But I guess I was just kind of hopeful that Sergio was making those strides. You know, he's super young still and quite experienced for his age, and appeared to be making big strides. But yeah, just a horrible stylistic matchup for him. And yeah, I'm bummed because this does fuck all for the division with two kind of top guys. Like, you know, Jussier isn't likely to get a great matchup following that, what you might call a very boring performance, backpacking him for the entire third round. And yeah, Sergio goes back down the ladder again, and there goes a exciting prospect, and they both have losses to Cejudo, so fuck knows what happens there. But yeah, a bit disappointing that fight. I was hoping it would be a good one for Sergio and he would come away looking like he was on a trajectory back towards the title. Next fight up, Michelle Waterson defeating Felice Herrig via unanimous decision. Surprised by this one. I thought Herrig would take it. I thought she would outmuscle Waterson, but Waterson looked really good, like kept the distance, used the kicks. Fucking, yeah, she landed multiple head kicks, on Herrig, and Herrig, very tough, man, just ate them. But, yeah, not too much else to say about that fight, because where's Waterson in the division? She'd be right up there after that, Yeah. Shit, sorry, my phone. Next fight up of the night, Derek Lewis defeating Alexander Volkov via third round TKO. Fight went for 2 rounds, 4 minutes and 50 seconds, exactly how I predicted. And then Derek Lewis just did some peak Derek Lewis shit and fucking knocked Volkov out with 11 seconds to go. Love Derek Lewis, so I was happy about that, but Volkov did fuck up my parlay. Yeah, just uncanny, man, that Derek Lewis can keep doing this. Like, he looks so bad throughout the fight and then just gets a finish. Fucking crazy. And then obviously the interview where he said he had taken his shorts off because his balls was hot. Hilarious as ever. The Donald Trump comments were fucking weird, but yeah, yeah, once again, I wouldn't imagine there's much ramifications for the division there. Volkov was looking like a contender. Now he's back down the rung, and fuck, man, I don't know. Can you put Derek Lewis in a title fight because of the way I was going to say the way he performs, but more the way he doesn't perform. And I don't know, you got to imagine against guys like Stipe, DC, etc., he'll get cleaned up in those rounds unless he does something. Next fight, Dominic Reyes defeating OSP via unanimous decision. Real good fight for Reyes, and real good that it went, well, depending on what you think about the end of the fight, it went the distance. Yeah, the results I'm looking at say, well, it was declared a decision, right? But it looked like it knocked him out. Yeah, so Reyes answering a lot of questions, man. Real impressed with his defensive responsibilities, and yeah, so I had him in my parlay, and getting closer and closer to the fight, I was getting quite nervous because of how little experience he has at the high level, and obviously OSP is a very difficult guy to fight, very tricky, big power, and Reyes, fuck, in the end, made it look pretty easy. Like, he didn't really look in trouble at any point throughout the fight. If anything, I thought he could have been a little more offensive, but I guess the game plan probably was being wary of the dangers that OSP presents and staying away from those dangers. So, good game plan, good ability to stick to a game plan, and he did fucking showcase that power again. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult now because if he goes up from OSP, they're pretty tough fights. But yeah, definitely some fights he can win, you would imagine. But we shall see. But good to have what looks to be a legit prospect at 205. Next fight up, Tony Ferguson defeating Anthony Pettis via second round TKO. Tony Ferguson, great to have him back. I couldn't stand the guy back in the day, but I've learnt to appreciate his lunacy in recent times. And yeah, I think the game's missed him, especially just being like, well, until he fights Habib and other guys like Conor, we don't know, is he the best 55er? Yeah, I'm not sure. I suspect, I don't want to get into all that, but great to have him back, and saw lots of people thinking that we were looking at a rejuvenated Anthony Pettis, and perhaps we were to some degree, but man, I always thought Ferguson was a lock in this fight. I had him in 3 or 4 parlays. Was super confident that he would get Pettis out of there, and he had a good first round for once, which is a rarity for Ferguson. He usually comes out and doesn't look that good from the beginning, but he found his timing pretty early, got a rhythm going, started putting that pressure and pace on Pettis, and you could see even in the first round, man, that pressure was overwhelming Pettis. Come out the second round, I believe it was, and Pettis drops Ferguson, and he starts fucking spinning round on his back and doing crazy shit. Fuck, he's so entertaining. And I think, one of the big moments of the fight was when back in their corners, about to come out for the second round, and the camera hits Pettis, and you see him. It's like, yeah, he's here to fight, and then it goes to Ferguson, and he's covered in blood, and he looks so fucking happy to be there. And it's like, that guy is fucking scary, man. Like, imagine facing him. He's just a fucking maniac. Like, he seems so legit insane. And he's a scary guy, I think, for anyone to face. I personally hope he gets the title shot next. I think he deserves it. But I wouldn't be mad at seeing him versus McGregor. I think a build up to that fight would be hilarious, because McGregor would be trying to fucking get at Ferguson, and Ferguson would just be responding with nonsense. And I'd like to see how McGregor reacted to that, to dealing with such a lunatic. But yeah, great to have Ferguson back. He looks like the same Tony Ferguson that left. And yeah, he's got to be close to a title shot. I guess it depends what happens with these next 2 fighters we shall discuss. So, Habib defeating Conor via submission. Says rear naked choke here, but it wasn't under the neck, so that was more of like, what do they call it, a neck crank, or I don't know. But so the finish is hilarious because of all Habib's assertions that McGregor quits and he taps, and Habib got him over the jaw and cranked it, and Conor tapped fucking quick. So, I mean, that looked fucking horrible, and you know Habib is fucking strong, and you know that's, yeah, just a horrible position to be in. So I ain't calling him a quitter or saying that he's easy to tap, but it does run in line with what Habib's criticisms of him were. As for the fight, Habib did what I thought he would do, circle on the outside. I didn't, like a lot of people were saying, like, oh, he's just going to run it, Conor, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, he's not going to do that, because if there's one thing we've learned about fighting McGregor is people that have success don't run onto the left hand, because McGregor is a counterpuncher, and the way he knocks people out is he draws them onto the left hand. Habib wasn't having none of that. Shot the low single. I was actually really impressed with McGregor's defense on the ground. Like, he kept, like, that whole first round, he didn't really allow Habib to get much offense off. But I think the more difficult fights we see McGregor in, what we learn is that he comes out and he is perhaps the most dangerous fighter in the world. If the fight isn't played on his terms, the danger he presents rapidly decreases, and he becomes less dangerous really quickly. And I think saw that in the second round. Habib looked more keen to throw some hands standing. Dropped Conor with the overhand right, that big loopy punch that, I don't know, I don't think there's many striking coaches telling you to throw your right hand like that, but it works for him. Caught Conor, dropped him, runs in with the flying knee. If that had connected and he'd finished the fight with that, that would have been so fucking spectacular. But Conor spun him round on the fence, I think, and landed a knee of his own, and then Habib goes straight back into the takedown. And then in that round he got some real good ground and pound off. Did a lot of talking to Conor. I wish the mics were clearer and we could have heard more of what Habib was saying, because that would have been super interesting. Third round they come out, and by this stage Conor's like incredible footwork is non-existent. He now has the footwork of Derek Lewis, who we'd seen earlier in the night. And just it looked like there was no pop on his punches. But he did manage to stuff, I think, the first two takedowns. Habib decided to stand and trade for a while. I think he landed, like, Conor got some shots off. He was landing the front kick to the body, but not much pop, like I said. And Habib landed a nice right hand on Conor, and then a beautiful check left hook later on in the round. And yeah, I think outstruck Conor in that round just due to Conor's fatigue. Like, I ain't here saying that Habib is a better striker than Conor McGregor. That's ridiculous, but because of the way the fight had panned out, he very much negated the danger Conor presented on the feet. They come out for the fourth round. I think Habib got the takedown pretty early there, and Conor is in horrible positions again. Looked like Habib was pretty keen to look for a submission in this round, finish the fight, and Conor was pretty not happy to oblige, but he rolled to his stomach. Habib got the neck crank, and Conor tapped really quick. So that leads us to the melee, the chaos that ensued. But before we get into that, just, I think, fucking great performance by Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's easy to forget that this is only Conor's second fight at 55, and the first was against Eddie, and he looked incredible in that fight. But yeah, Habib. I don't know. I couldn't call this fight. I didn't place money on it, except does not go the distance. And yeah, no, I seesawed about it heaps, and I thought there's heaps of days where I wake up and I was like, fuck, I think Conor's gonna knock him out. But yeah, Habib just proved that his game plan could prevail, and I think he looked a lot more athletic than Conor in there. So he moved quickly, man, and just yeah, implemented his game real well. Pretty happy for him up until that point. And then obviously, I don't need to go into the details of it, but he jumps the cage, goes after Danis. Conor hits a teammate of Habib's, then other teammates of Habib jump in and attack Conor, one from behind, which obviously a lot of people don't like. My thoughts on this, a couple thoughts. The first one is, so you saw Dana come out at the end, and he does have to like condemn the behavior, and whether he is or not act appalled and disgusted, and I believe perhaps he genuinely is. He's got a lot at stake here, but much like the bus incident, if they fight again, you know there's going to be that incident is going to be on every single fucking promo. They don't do much to discourage this atmosphere being created. In fact, I would argue that they probably encourage it. You see that Artem was matched up to fight Habib's teammate in a few weeks. His name escapes me right now, and he was involved in the incident, so it doesn't look like that fight will take place now. But you know, that's a fight that doesn't need to be made. Like the McGregor-Habib fight needed to happen, but that matchup with Artem and Habib's teammate doesn't need to happen whatsoever. But they are trying to capitalize on this rivalry, which involves fucking some pretty serious actions that are taking place, and then some pretty serious words that have been spoken. Throughout my life, I've always believed that, you know, if you want to say things that carry a lot of weight, or you know have potential to really hurt or upset other people, particularly like so often. So for example, right, the shit where Conor was insinuating harm to, or he was saying that if he got off the bus he'd be dead. That's like a threat to his life, regardless of how serious you want to take it. But I know personally, if someone was talking like that about me or someone I cared about, I would take that pretty seriously. And I feel like if I acted violently towards that person, that their language was violent and therefore they had initiated the violence, I'd still be responsible for my actions. You know, this is supposed to be a civil society and you're not supposed to behave that way. But yeah, I think often the language is downplayed and people say, oh, you can't, you know, respond with violence to that. It's like, well, if the language is violent and then the response is physical violence, I don't really feel sorry for you. In saying that, I do think, yeah, Habib did the wrong thing. He had his opportunity to make Conor pay for the things he'd said and the way he had acted. And yeah, it's a shame because he got an amazing win, and now it's really, really had a shadow cast on it by what transpired afterwards. At the same time, I do kind of understand this atmosphere of tension's been created, and he's just been in a fist fight. UFC was very aware of the atmosphere that had been created, and they had extra security and stuff. And I don't know, I think it's a lot to expect of a trained fighter to keep his cool in a moment like that. not to take away the need for responsibility for Habib, but, you know, he had just been in a fucking fist fight, and then he finishes, and then Danis is mouthing off. So yeah, it's a shame, really, because Habib had got the job done. He'd said the things he needed to say. Did he spit on Conor at the end? I couldn't quite tell. I couldn't tell if he was saying something or whether he was spitting on him. But yeah, and I don't think it's too much of a big deal. I personally hope Habib doesn't get punished. I don't think they need punish him, and if they do, I guess it will all kind of depend on what they want to do going forward. Do they want to make a rematch? Because I guess it wouldn't go down well if they stripped him and then had like Conor and Tony fight for the title. That would feel pretty cheap. So I feel like they still need Habib in some capacity. Conor would need to beat Habib to wear the belt and for people to feel like he was the real champion again. So they're going to need Habib back. So maybe he'll get like a suspension that is just like, you know, as long as he needs to recoup and do another fight camp or whatever. So I don't think they'll deal with him too harshly. He might lose some purse and shit. But those teammates, I wouldn't be surprised if they're taken off the roster, which is interesting because Artem was involved in the bus thing and he's booked to fight. And I guess the reason is obviously because Conor was involved in the bus thing and they're not going to ban him for life or anything like they did with Paul Daly. And since they're going to do that, then for the sake of consistency, they're not going to ban Artem either. Or perhaps like they might have kind of just blackballed Artem, but perhaps Conor used his leverage to get Artem booked for a fight again. But yeah, I don't know if Habib's teammates will be so lucky. I think the UFC might kind of use those guys as the scapegoat so Habib can kind of get off a bit lighter, but we shall see what happens. And yeah, as far as a rematch goes, I don't know, I feel like, yeah, is it because, you know, Habib, there's a kind of bit of an impression about him that he doesn't fight for money, he fights for legacy. He says that, but man, I don't know how much money he made off this fight, but you wouldn't be mad at it. So, and being that he got a, I wouldn't say an easy win, but that was a one-sided win. I would imagine he wouldn't mind fighting Conor again, especially since the rivalry might be kept alive from the incident. Get paid a stack of money again, but I do hope that it's Habib versus Tony next. And I'd like to see them match up Conor with Kevin Lee, but I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll be Diaz fight next, or if he's not getting the rematch. But we shall see. Exciting times ahead if Habib isn't sidelined for a long time. Next card up is the one that had Lobov versus Tukhugov. Habib's teammate Artem on a co-main, 14-14. So there's that Conor McGregor leverage and association, the power of that. Because yeah, I don't know, Artem's pretty entertaining to watch though. So you know, I don't mind seeing him fight. He's usually in fun fights. But yeah, that card coming up next is Ozdemir versus Anthony Smith. Just looking at it as it is, I definitely fancy Ozdemir to finish Smith pretty early in that fight. Calvin Kattar is back, which is cool. A fucking horrible fight in Jean Volante versus Ed Herman. Serkinov versus Cummins. Yeah. Noreen Taleb versus Sean Strickland. Favor Taleb in that. Gauti versus Haqparast. Keen to see Haqparast again. And yeah, not too much to this card. Does not look that exciting at all. But I imagine, well, I don't know when the odds are going to be out, but I will be back in a week or so with my picks and predictions for that card. I think it's 3 weeks out, so it's going to be a long wait. There's a Bellator next weekend, but as you know, I don't cover Bellator events. But thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe, obviously. Feel free to hit me up on the Twitter or Instagram. That's all in the box below. And have a lovely few weeks off. I'll be back, like I said, shortly with my next picks and predictions video. Thank you for tuning in.